Tensions on the rise between President Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky after Trump called him a dictator without elections.
Lucas Tomlinson is live in Washington with all the details here. Hi, Lucas.
Well, good early morning, Carly and Todd. President Trump doubling down on those comments about Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky while speaking in Miami to business leaders hosted by Saudi Arabia's Sovereign Wealth Fund.
The only thing he was really good at was playing Joe Biden like a fiddle. He played him like a fiddle. That's an expression we use. A dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left. Got to move fast because that war is going in the wrong direction. In the meantime, we're successfully negotiating an end to the war with Russia.
Russian President Vladimir Putin and President Trump could meet this month in Saudi Arabia. The Kremlin said it's possible. Right now, Russia makes more weapons and ammunition in 3 months than the entire NATO alliance, including the United States, makes in a year, officials say. The U.S. makes 50,000 artillery rounds a month, Russia 250,000. Now, following Trump's remarks on Truth Social calling Zelensky a dictator, the Ukrainian president fired back, calling Trump's comments Russian disinformation. That prompted Trump's vice president, J.D. Vance, to respond, telling the Daily Mail, quote, "The idea that Zelensky is going to change the president's mind by bad-mouthing him in public media, everyone who knows the president will tell you that is an atrocious way to deal with this administration." So we'll see, guys, whether President Trump meets with Russia's president later this month. Stay tuned. Carly,
Stay tuned is right. Lucas, thank you. Let's bring in former Deputy National Security Advisor and the VP of National Security at the Heritage Foundation, Victoria Coates. Victoria, where do we go from here?
Well, good morning, Todd. Yeah, I think what we're seeing here is positioning and ahead of any negotiations. I think that both President Zelensky and President Trump are pretty media savvy and are kind of laying out where what they think are their positions of strength. But I think we have to remember President Zelensky has really allowed himself to be politicized by the Biden administration. Remember when he went to Pennsylvania in the heat of the general election at the end of September of last year to visit an ammunition factory. It didn't take anyone from the Republican side with him, just a bunch of Democrats. It was essentially a campaign appearance for Kamala Harris. So he's already deep in the thick of American politics. And I think President Trump remembers that and doesn't appreciate it.
Yeah, the left loves to say Trump favors Putin and that they're buddies. That's what the critics are saying. But one theory I heard, and I think it's interesting, I want to get your thoughts. Trump, one, wants to end the war, but two, he is also trying to build our alliance with Russia so that Russia decouples from China. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the most important thing to remember is of the last 3 presidencies, 4 if you count Trump twice, the only president under whom Ukraine was not invaded by Vladimir Putin was Donald Trump. So if his relationship with Vladimir Putin prevented a horrible war in the first term, hopefully he can end this war in the second term. And that's definitely a better relationship with Russia. Now, Putin's economic dependence on China is such that it's going to be very hard to peel him off, but we can make that relationship problematic for China. And I think that would be a really good thing for our bigger challenge, much bigger than Ukraine, which of course is China.
I think that is such an important point. We get lost in the weeds with Russia, Ukraine. China is the #1 geopolitical adversary that we have, and we need to keep our eye on the ball at all times with regard to them. Meantime, as Trump's foreign policy team handles multiple hotspots around the world, you say we are no longer in a post-World War II era. What do you mean by that? And I think it sort of alludes to what we were just talking about, probably involves China.
It does. And this is, in Washington, there's kind of a parlor game of pearl clutching and swooning over every little thing that Donald Trump does that doesn't suit the establishment and what I call the foreign policy blob. He is breaking some China. He is changing some paradigms. Wanting to end the war rather than perpetuate it is apparently a radical act. And everyone's saying, oh, my gosh, he's destroying the post-World War II order. Well, guess what? That was 80 years ago. We've had all sorts of things happen since World War II. We've had the Cold War. We've had, we've had the war on terror. And now we have the rise of China. I think we have to change that that model. And we have to move on and realize that the geopolitical landscape has changed. And what President Trump is trying to do is deal with the crisis at the border, deal with China. This is a new world. And I don't think we should be upset about that. We should welcome it and see what kind of opportunities it gives us.
I think it's important. You have to adapt with the times, whether it's AI or whether it's the new world order that you talk about. I mean, it's time. We can't live in the past. It's time to move forward. Victoria Coates, great insight. We appreciate it.